Hi guys, it's Caroline again today. Today I'm going to be reviewing a book. It's called We Are Pirates by Daniel Handler. Now, before I get started, I just want to give you a moment to appreciate how beautiful this cover is. I love that there was a really nice dust jacket that went up to about here on it, but I really love just how beautiful this is, how it doesn't need a dust jacket. That's honestly like the main reason I picked it up. Then I realized that it was written by Daniel Handler, who's an author I've read some other books by and liked. But like, just look at this. Take a minute, appreciate it, press pause, look at how beautiful it is. Okay, our moment's done. Daniel Handler has written a couple of YA books like The Basic 8, which I really liked. And he's also has the pseudonym Lemony Snicket, who I'm sure you all recognize as writing the series of Unfortunate Events, which I think we all read when we were younger. So this book is an adult book, not a YA book, which was interesting to see. It's a little slower than his other books, but it definitely has the same personality, which I love. Like, you can't mistake it for anyone else because it just has so much personality. It's very funny, just like all of his other books, that personality and a lot of humor. The humor, in fact, even starts before the book does. If you open it up to other books written by this author, there's some books that don't really exist. For the Holidays, The Baby in the Manger, The Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming and the Lump of Coal, and As the Pope, How to Dress for Every Occasion. So the humor really does start even before the book does. What is this book about? This is about our main character is 14 years old. She's a girl named Gwen, and it starts off with her having, you know, her regular teenage life, no worries. She doesn't have a job yet. She, you know, does kind of whatever she feels like. She has a couple friends, she does swim team, whatever, you know, a regular teenage 14-year-old life. No big deal. And you kind of see her become an adult. I think she's still 14, maybe 15 when the book ends. It's not a very lengthy book. Like, it's just very quick. Not reading, but it only takes place over the course of a couple months. And there's two parts. The first part is like her regular life, whatever, and the second part, this is going to have a little bit of a spoiler. They decide to become pirates and they steal a boat and that whole thing, and how she gets home. Her parents think she's missing. So you get to meet her friends, you see how she makes friends, and you see her parents and what they think, and it's not entirely her point of view, which is why it's third person. So you see her dad when they're not around a little bit. So I really liked that. You kind of got to know some of the characters more than you would if it really only followed her. So a couple things that I didn't like. I didn't like that it started kind of slow. I didn't like that there were a few continuity errors. I couldn't understand where things started and ended and whatever. An example of that is because the timeline jumps back and forth, so things will happen and you don't quite know if it happened before the other things or after the other things. One example of that, and this is not a spoiler, but one example of that is she meets the main character, Gwen, meets a friend, and the friend lives on Octavia Ave or Octavia Street, and Gwen ends up telling someone her name is Octavia, so I don't know which came first, if it was just a coincidence or if that's where she got the idea. So it's not like a big thing, but it did make it kind of confusing to read. I also didn't like, at the end of the book, there's a couple paragraphs that are in first person instead of third person, so it's like I walked into the room and she didn't answer me. And that was confusing to me. I didn't know if that was supposed to be like that or what, but that was a little confusing that it switched around a little bit. Those are the three things that I really didn't like. It starts off kind of slow. The timeline jumps around and there's a couple paragraphs of first person. I liked all the pirate references. Like in the beginning, before they actually become pirates, they say things like ahoy and you're a wench and buccaneer, things like that, and I really liked that. And just how it all connected. So I liked that it started with just the pirate references, then she reads the pirate books and then they become pirates in the second part of the book. And seeing how the people she brought along with her to become pirates ended up, like how they reacted to that and how she reacted to it. And this is, I guess, a pretty major spoiler. She ends up killing someone, which I did not see coming at all. I thought, you know, they were just going to be teenagers having a little fun, whatever, maybe doing a little threatening, but I didn't think they'd actually kill anyone. So, like, they really did try to become pirates. That's probably a signal of like insanity or something. I also really liked that it was an adult book, definitely written more like an adult book and less like a YA book, but it had a 14-year-old main character. It wasn't adults that were the main characters. One other thing I liked and I didn't mention is that I really like that there's a couple parentheses in the book, maybe like not even 10 total, where it'll say something like Gwen knew she'd never go to France or whatever, and then the author put in parentheses when in fact she did 20 years later or something like that. I really liked that. It helped me understand the characters a little bit more and what happened to them after the book. I thought that the book didn't really end. Like, I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know what the repercussions of everything she did was, when it just kind of like, oh, that's the end. She's home. If you can get past the first like 1/5 of the book or something where it's pretty slow, this book is actually really good. Now, because of those reasons that I mentioned, I think I only gave it a 3 or a 4-star rating on Goodreads. Like, in my head it's a 3.5, I don't know which way I rounded. But I really enjoyed this, more like a solid 4, maybe even a 4.5-star book. I really did enjoy it, but the things that like bothered me, my dislikes, were a little too big to be able to accurately give it that many stars. Okay, peace.